Stage show to movie musical adaptations tend to be received less than positively, both at the box office and by viewers, by your average critic or by fans of the original property. Even when the films get middling reviews, the average opinion from people who didn't know the property before tends to be meh, and they struggle to make the money spent in production back at the box office. The movies that aren't just sweepingly hate it tend to have a very short life cycle of coming out, audiences feeling fine about them, and then them fading away from cultural consciousness. They rarely are a cultural moment. So what about Wicked? The film performed incredibly at the box office, got glowing reviews, and, well...
Did they have brains or not? Don't make me laugh.
This is just a reminder that we are not singing during this film.
Some moviegoers say something bad is happening.
Wicked.
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 Wicked. Excellent. What's your problem?
Don't be afraid.
It's certainly having its cultural moment. Pink or green? We deserve each other. Me and Bach. Don't make me laugh. They were... popular? Right! It seems like everybody in the world is currently holding space for the new Wicked movie. So what happened? What did Wicked do that all these other stage musical adaptations didn't? A lot of things. The Wicked musical itself is an adaptation of a book by Gregory Maguire titled Wicked: The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, which is contentious in its own right.
You will be
Traumatized.
And could just be considered a retelling of the 1900 Frank Baum novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, but given the fact that the book portrays Elphaba as green, which was not in the original novel.
It was not L. Frank Baum who decided to make the Wicked Witch of the West green. It was also not Gregory Maguire who made the decision to make Elphaba green.
But instead a choice made for the 1939 film as a way to capitalize on the novel use of color in film, it is instead actually a book retelling of the 1939 film, which itself is a film adaptation of the 1900 novel. Even though the book was technically a retelling of the Wizard of Oz film, the Wicked movie, based on the book, based on the movie, could not legally be considered a prequel to the 1939 film due to copyright laws. So only the musical and Wicked book are listed as its source material, and the 1900s novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, is in the public domain, so it could draw from that as well. So the Wicked film is a stage-to-screen adaptation of the Wicked musical, which is a book-to-stage adaptation of Wicked: The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, which is a screen-to-book retelling of the Wizard of Oz film, which is a book-to-screen adaptation of the Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Cool. Not even counting all that history dating back to 1900, a Wicked film has been in the works for a long time. A very long time. The musical debuted on stage in 2003 to great success. It won 3 Tony Awards and now has been running for nearly 22 years, making it currently the 4th longest running Broadway show in history. With all this great success, of course, some film person is going to want to get their cut of the pie, and in 2009, Maguire, the author of the Wicked novel, said that he sold the rights to ABC to make a non-musical TV adaptation of his book, not based on the script written for the musical. Scripts for musicals are generally called books, but I will just be referring to them as scripts because otherwise I'd be talking about the Wicked book and the Wicked book, and that would become very confusing very fast. In 2011, the next news came through a TV Line article. ABC would be moving ahead with their adaptation, intending to make it an 8-hour-long TV miniseries just derived from the book itself. This news came out on January 2nd, and that same week, the stage musical earned over $2 million, setting multiple grossing records for both the Gershwin Theater it played in and Broadway as a whole. So they had good reason to want to capitalize on its smashing success. In 2012, news finally came of a musical movie adaptation of the stage production, as Mark Platt, a producer of the stage production, reported to Entertainment Weekly that conversations were starting. Yay! Finally! 9 years after the musical debuted, and after being teased for so long about the Phantom miniseries, there is word of an adaptation of Wicked the musical. Later, it was reported that they were aiming for a 2016 release. Obviously, that did not happen. 2016 came, and it was reported that the film had a release date of December 20th, 2019. That did not happen. In 2018, Universal, the studio behind the adaptation, announced that Wicked was experiencing production issues and the film would need to be put on hold. You know what they released in its place on that fateful December 20th? Cats. I think they secretly thought that movies were too good that year, so they had to step in to remind us that yes, studios are still capable of royally messing up. The idea of a Wicked film adaptation kind of became a joke in the musical theater community. Every now and then, an account would post some rumors associated with the movie, and they'd get a mix of excitement from new fans who didn't know about the history, and older fans who would just kind of laugh it off like, yeah, right, you must be new around here. In early 2019, they announced the film would instead be released on December 22nd, 2021. That did not happen. In April of 2020, they announced the film once again had to be placed on hold due to COVID restrictions. And you know what got its release date? Sing 2. In February of 2021, a new director of the film was announced, John M. Chu. And if you paid attention during the credits, you would know that this is the person who ended up directing the film, and Universal was largely finally settled with their above-the-line crew. Those are the big names responsible for making big creative decisions in a film. In November, the two main leads were cast, with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo joining the production. In April of 2022, it was announced the musical would be released in 2 parts. Filming was supposed to take place from April 6th to July 14th, 2023, but another big event took place in the film industry beginning around July 14th of 2023.
Well, it's the first official day of the SAG-AFTRA strike.
Members of the Hollywood Actors Union hitting the picket lines alongside striking Writers Guild members.
SAG-AFTRA, the biggest union for actors in the world, went on strike. I kind of rolled my eyes when I said that, and I don't want them to think that I'm against this strike. They went on strike? Like, we want movies. SAG-AFTRA, the biggest union for actors in the world, went on strike. This meant actors were prohibited from working on productions, including ones such as Wicked. July 13th. They had about 1 more day of filming. The strike finally finished on November 9th, and filming resumed on January 24th, 2024, concluding 2 days later on January 26th. 2 days later. 2 days later. Filming was suspended for half a year for 2 days of filming. Reports say that post-production for Wicked was completed on September 19th, 2024. And finally, 12 years after the plans for it were announced, Wicked was released on November 22nd, 2024. Oh, and that TV series never came. Let's take it back a few steps to when Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande were first cast. For those of you who don't know, stunt casting is a common gimmick in musical theater, and it's exactly what it sounds like.
What the heck is stunt casting? Stunt casting is when you employ a star, usually from TV or film, who doesn't necessarily have a ton of theater experience, and you put them in a theater show.
A production will cast someone who is stereotypically outside of the realm of musical theater. This can be a wide variety of celebrities, including former New York Giants running back Tiki Barber, but is generally an actor or musician, though sometimes you'll even grab internet celebrities like Colleen Ballinger, better known as Miranda Sings. At least she has Sings in there. This almost always happens for a short stint and as a cash grab. It generally happens when a production needs to bring in more revenue, and it's a little trade-off that works. It works for the same reasons all those Noah Kahan Sixth Season features worked. They would bring in someone with a different, sometimes bigger audience than the one they would generally... Hi. And their ticket sales would go up. The production gets their money, the stunt castee gets to add a role to their resume or live out their little Broadway fantasy. Everybody is happy. Sabrina Carpenter was in Mean Girls the musical, Brendan Urie was in Kinky Boots, even Cinderella had Carly Rae Jepsen for a little bit. This also isn't limited to musicals. This is a very common phenomenon in the world of play acting. Big movie and TV stars will take a short little vacation from their big screen work to freshen up their image. It gives actors with a capital A more credibility to their acting gravitas. Like, no, I'm not just some Hollywood chum. Look at me perform an hour-long monologue. I'm a real actor. Though they have a bit more credibility and are less hated than the ones who are casted in musicals because, well, They are actors. It's just a different medium than the one they usually inhabit. Gee, thanks for that dictionary lesson, Gracie, but why did that come right after you mentioned the casting of the 2 leads of Wicked? Thank you for asking. When this casting was announced, there were a lot of people who were upset at the casting of Ariana Grande and cried foul play stunt casting at work.
Why I would be wrong or whatever. I think, of course, like any human being caring something about something they care so much about, like that, going off of side to side, I probably would have said the same thing.
This is kind of funny on its own because you lose half the meaning of stunt casting when you're talking about a feature film adaptation of a musical, because by its very nature, it has to involve screen actors. Like, even if they only use stage actors, which a fair number of musical fans do advocate for, they would become screen actors in the filming of the movie. There also isn't the same need for stunt actors in movies, as they aren't a reoccurring production like musicals, who need to consistently fill seats with ticket sales that slowly dwindle. But in good faith, sure, there could hypothetically be stunt casting in a movie to reach a wider audience than they anticipate the musical adaptation would reach on its own. So Ariana Grande, though she was an actor as well, is better known for her individual pop singer career, fulfilling the reaching a wider audience. But does she really fulfill the stunt? No. Well, not really. A defining characteristic of these stunt castings is that they don't have a history of musical theater, but Ariana Grande does. Before Wicked, before the pop career, even before Victorious, in 2018...
Actually, in 2008, that's what I meant.
Ariana Grande started it all on Broadway in the musical 13. That's right, Ariana Grande was a Broadway baby. In addition to this, she did have many years of acting experience. So sure, Ariana Grande had notoriety and probably brought in a wider audience than Wicked would have had without her, but it wasn't really stunt casting. Not really. Which brings us to the wider point of casting. Wicked cast well and Wicked cast smart. Wicked cast people whose careers lended themselves for the roles they played. A lot of the principal cast, such as Cynthia Erivo, Jonathan Bailey, Ethan Slater, and yes, Ariana Grande, all have worked in professional musical theater productions. Cynthia Erivo even won a Tony for her performance in the 2015 Broadway revival of The Color Purple. Beyond just the musical theater performers, a lot of Michelle Yeoh's most famous roles portray her as a very powerful woman. Who is she cast as in Wicked? The headmistress of the school. The Wizard of Oz, a man whose knack for manipulating mass amounts of people hinges on his charisma, is played by the internet's darling Jeff Goldblum.
And the internet loves Jeff Goldblum.
Also the darling of 17-year-old Gracie who fell in love with dinosaurs, but I don't think that was an intentional move. One of Glinda's ridiculous friends, a comedic role, was played by Boeing Yang, an SNL comedian. Even in the role of Dr. Dillamond, a CGI goat, they cast Peter Dinklage, one of the best actors of our time. When I closed my eyes, I could pretend Tyrion was resurrected from the depths of Season 8 and all was put right in the world. Now you may think, no kidding, a good cast is important to a movie. Every movie strives to cast the most suitable actors they can find. You would think so. Musical movie adaptations have a track record of just terribly casting their actors. Some common mistakes include hiring actors without musical training who can't sing, hiring famous musical artists without acting experience who can't act, casting the son of the producer when he's too old for the role, casting too old in general, and casting James Corden. They always cast James Corden. Wicked did still do a few of these things, although not the nepotism one, which is a miracle because Mark Platt was also a producer on the Wicked movie. But when they did them very intentionally. When they cast actors without musical training who had to sing, they played roles that required minimal singing. When they cast a famous musician, she had acting experience. When they cast actors too old for the characters, they properly made the actors seem younger, and due to the fact that actors had to play multiple ages, there was more suspension of disbelief. Sure, they did cast actors in their 30s as university students, but as many people have pointed out, maybe the age of university students is different. This is a fantasy movie. Now you may notice in the introduction I said that stage show to movie adaptations tend to be received poorly, not just movie musicals. This is because movie musicals tend to actually do pretty well. There's just one big difference. These movie musicals that do well are usually animated. There are a few live-action musicals that perform well, but the vast majority of successful musical movies are animated. Just think about the vast array of Disney musicals. Musicals are inherently a bit of a hard sell. Yeah, we all know that it's strange that people are suddenly bursting into song, but it goes beyond that. In musicals, the lyrics of the songs don't generally match one-to-one with what a character would genuinely say in that moment. The words have to rhyme. They have to sound good both together and with the melody. There's often a chorus that repeats. The content of the songs also diverge from reality, including breaking the cohesion of time momentarily, or having characters say sentences real humans wouldn't just say, being meant to progress the story or reveal deep feelings the characters wouldn't actually be sharing. Musicals inherently need to split from reality, and they need to split far from reality. This creates a wider chasm of disbelief that needs to be ignored for viewers to engage with the material, also known as a suspension of disbelief. Animation is fantastic for bringing musicals to the screen because suspension of disbelief is inherent to the medium. You have to believe these fast-moving drawings are real sentient creatures in a real lively world. The medium also allows for more freedom in working with the fact that in many musicals, characters literally sing to the audience. This blocking can be played with in animation due to its fluidity and the fact it can easily break the fourth wall that stage productions break, resulting in much more engaging sequences than just character sits down and stares slightly to the side of the camera as they sing about their life. Fantasy can help the adaptation process in a similar way. Coming at a movie musical from a more fantastical approach allows the audience to not have to worry about suspending their disbelief so far. No, we aren't just at the kitchen table while you half sing your laundry list of crimes to your girlfriend's family. We are in a fantasy world. It isn't weird this person is singing. While Wicked is not animated, it takes this fantastical approach to its adaptation. Half of this was just luck. Wicked is already a fantasy musical because it's based on The Wizard of Oz. Well, it's based on a book that's based on but the other half of this was the fact that the musical just went really creative and threw the guise of realism out the window. John M. Chu, the director of Wicked, has been really good at incorporating this into musical films, even ones that aren't already in the fantasy genre. He also directed the movie adaptation of In the Heights, and many sequences embraced their stage musical heritage and didn't care about realism, making them much more interesting. These more fantastical sequences also go a long way in adequately capturing the energy of the music. I think the best example of this in Wicked is Loathing. There is so much life in the camera movements and the choreography and the blocking and the movements of the characters. Now, imagine the scene if the characters were just sitting next to one another and singing at each other. Don't worry, you don't have to. Almost every song in Dear Evan Hansen does this. And guess what? It's boring.
All of those anonymous ones. And I felt so small.
And it just draws attention to the fact that, hey, these people aren't supposed to be singing right now. In Wicked, people swing on revolving bookshelves and dance on tables and fly on broomsticks. The fact that they also sing is way less jarring when it's not the only unusual thing happening. It didn't just make the sequences more interesting to watch, but it helped the overall mood of the movie as well. Subconsciously, the fact that people are bursting into song matters a lot less when they're also walking on the side of a building. When the news first came out that the Wicked movie would be split into 2 parts, a lot of people assumed it was just a cash grab, that each film would be about the length of 1 act. A lot of people assumed it was just a cash grab, that each film would be about the length of 1 act. No! The Wicked stage musical has a runtime of about 2 hours and 30 minutes, so 1 act would be about 1 hour 15. Maybe they'd add a little though, and each film would be 1 hour and a half. The Wicked movie has a runtime of 2 hours and 40 minutes. The first Wicked movie has a longer runtime than the entire actual Wicked production. So what happened? Did they incorporate more from the book like many speculated they would? No, they wanted to keep their PG rating. Did they add new big sequences or make current sequences a lot longer? Not really. The ballroom scene feels a bit longer, and Elphaba's hot air balloon sequence is a bit drawn out for dramatics, but that's really it. Instead, they gave the existing material more space to breathe and come into its own. The changes aren't flashy, just little things or moments here and there that add to the story. Even the songs are only about a minute or so longer than their stage counterparts. The fact that the creatives behind the Wicked movie gave it proper space and time in its adaptation is a rare move in adapting stage musicals to the screen. Musicals often have long run times, hence the prevalence of intermissions, and many studios want to cut this down to get closer to the more audience-friendly 90-minute runtime movies generally aim for, resulting in songs or character beats being cut in adaptation. This is also just how adaptations in general tend to go. Think of how much movies have to cut out when adapting books to screens. The fight for house elf rights in Harry Potter, Mr. Rumblebuffin in Narnia, everything in Percy Jackson. Part of this is just adapting any property to screen. The material is inherently going to change when you shift mediums, and this isn't inherently bad. Film is a different medium with different limitations and strengths. But creatives being more open to longer runtimes, when possible, generally results in a product that is less rushed and better developed. Just think about Lord of the Rings. Almost everyone prefers the extended editions, and the films are widely regarded as masterpieces, amassing a wide variety of awards and praise. Of course, you also want to be mindful of not bloating the material, or you end up with the Hobbit films. Wicked walked the line well, giving the musical its proper space to enter the medium of film while not dragging it out or hurting the source material.
I don't know about you, but I think Wicked proves that most movies should not be over an hour and a half. Because they're not as good as Wicked. Wicked should be about 6 hours long.
Okay, no kidding, the music went a long way in helping Wicked. The singing was fantastic, a credit to the casting, and the fantastic singing helped with marketing, a point we will come back to. But other musicals also have music. That's kind of the whole point of them. So, cool. There you go, open and shut, what's next? Except Wicked did something uncommon with its music. Instead of recording the music in advance and then lip-syncing to it on set while filming, like most movie musicals do, the vocals for the music were largely recorded live.
So if you can't find me out to the western sky.
With the help of hidden mics on set, body mics, and careful boom miking, almost all of the singing was recorded the same way dialogue is when filming, and then edited in post-production.
I truly believe that the original performance, the performance that happened on the day, on the movie set, in the moment, with the actors feeding off each other's emotion, that's when that magic occurs, which is their original performance.
Recording vocals live isn't a new technique.
Let's be common and do it again.
It actually was very common for early movie musicals to record some of their vocals live because of how hard it was to lip sync with technology at the time. But pre-recording vocals is definitely the norm in the modern age, despite the fact that the difference in quality between on-set dialogue and studio vocals is much more drastic than it once was.
I'd completely forgotten about that place.
Well, I guess Connor didn't. Did he?
We walk a while and talk about the things we'll do when we get out of school.
Studio vocals have gotten so good in the modern day that they can actually sound bad in musical films. The transition from live spoken lines to perfect, hyper-polished singing is usually pretty jarring and can draw more attention to the singing, making that suspension of disbelief more difficult.
We walk a while and talk.
It can also really suck the emotion from the music and the scene because the actors aren't delivering their musical lines. They're just pretending to. It can feel like those videos of TikTokers acting over a pre-existing audio. Like, sure, you made good facial expressions, but there's still a big disconnect with the actual emotions of the scene.
I never let them see the worst of me.
Is this man singing? Is he really singing? I mean, I believe that his mouth is open. I believe that he wants me to believe he's singing, but it just kind of looks like he's screaming into the void. Recording the vocals live on set went a long way for Wicked. There really is nothing like Cynthia Erivo belting out Defying Gravity. You can feel the emotions of the singing, and it melds really well with the acting. It also goes a long way in bringing audiences into the world. Like, the world of Wicked is a real, living, breathing thing. There is a bit of a tricky side to recording vocals live, though. Obviously, filming vocals live is not exactly an easy task. On stage, due to the nature of it being a live show, actors only have to go through each scene once. Even if they mess up, no big deal, theatergoers aren't allowed to film anyways, so you just move on and keep going with the show. This is not the case with film. Directors have a vision, and scenes will be reshot a number of times until the take aligns with what the director wants. The number of reshoots for a scene can go really high. In The Shining, Kubrick shot the scene between Danny and Dick Hallorann approximately 148 times. While hopefully there weren't so many takes for any scene in Wicket, there obviously would still be numerous reshoots to get the final product just right. The problem is that stage musical numbers aren't written to be re-sung over and over. I mean, imagine having to sing the end of Defying Gravity while strapped to a moving broom under layers of costuming and makeup twice, let alone however many times Cynthia Erivo had to do it. Scenes in film are also often clipped together for multiple takes. This can be avoided, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did this in Wicket to use the best vocal snippets. But trying to make sure the vocals are right isn't the only factor ensuring a take is good. You also want to have the best take for acting line up with the best take for vocals. You have to juggle all of these factors at once, and Wicket does a pretty fantastic job of this. Until you listen to the songs on their own. The songs are far from unlistenable, obviously. The cast is incredibly stacked in terms of sheer vocal talent, but when you listen to the soundtrack alone, it starts to sound like outtakes of Cher songs. There is a lot of autotune and pitch correct, as well as some strange pacing in songs. Though Simon Hayes, the mastermind behind the live recording for Wicket, collaborated with the actors and incorporated space for them where they requested it, at times the pacing sounds a little awkward. Like the actors took a bit too long on one part of the song and then had to rush in the music to catch back up.
I'll keep all my friends close to my chest.
Noticeable autotune definitely isn't just a problem for musical movies that record vocals live.
Before I lead with the worst of me.
But it is harder to avoid. I had listened to the soundtrack before watching the movie because I kept hearing bites from online and was curious. When I finally got to see the film, I went into it ready to be a hater. I was so ready to make some video about oh, why the music in Wicket is so bad. And I was expecting those moments of autotune to be off-putting. But I didn't really notice it while watching. With everything happening on screen, it isn't jarring or that apparent. This then begs the question, do songs from musical movies need to sound polished like cast recordings of stage productions do? The medium of film does ask different things of both the audience and the music itself, so does it really matter if the vocals or the quality of the vocal recording sounds entirely good? Some may say, yes, it does matter because this is a movie adaptation of a musical, and the music is at the center of that. If musical quality is sacrificed in the name of better acting, something which, yes, is in stage productions, but is far less important when your audience is hundreds of feet away instead of 2, or more cohesive emotions, you're then betraying the source material. But then it can also be argued that this is an adaptation, and that film has different demands. I personally think it's cool that the vocals are largely recorded live, and it does give a certain stage production authentic feel to the musical, which hyper-polished pre-recorded vocals would have diminished. A soundtrack for a movie fulfills a different purpose than a cast recording for a stage musical, and people shouldn't expect the same things from both of them. A cast recording exists first and foremost to be listened to. A film soundtrack exists first and foremost to accompany a film. That being said, I do think the autotune is noticeable and could have been turned down. Wicket marketing, you tricky little thing. The marketing for this film was
Target to shop everything Wicked.
very pervasive. Everywhere you turned, there were products in pink and green promoting the film. It was also expensive, costing somewhere in the ballpark of $150 million, an estimate made by others in the industry. But it paid off. In the opening weekend alone, the film made around $162 million globally. Of course, the production cost for Wicket in total racked up another approximately $300 million, but considering it already made its advertising costs alone in the first few days of release, the film is doing just fine monetarily. According to an article by Variety, Universal, the studio who made Wicked, partnered with over 400 corporations to create products and other film tie-ins as part of promotion for the film. They even got the Empire State Building to become lit in the now iconic pink and green. Michael Moses, the chief marketing officer at Universal, said that his goal with the marketing campaign was being just short of obnoxious, although short is definitely a stretch. What I find particularly interesting is how this marketing strategy reflects our modern culture as a whole. He also told Variety that, quote, "We live in an environment where monoculture doesn't happen in the way it used to, so you have to be everywhere." There isn't one prevalent push in culture anymore that used to be cultivated by things like the mainstream culture listening to the same songs on the radio, or how a lack of at-home streaming services and physical media once forced people to watch the same films being played in movie theaters. Although there has been a push away from this monoculture for a while, think of things like the ability to get physical copies of different movies at home through tapes and then later DVDs, there are newcomers like TikTok who have come up and really shaken the cycle of trends and how we interact with them. Clothing trends are becoming shorter and shorter, emphasizing a need for faster manufacturing and resulting in even faster fast fashion. Microtrends have become very prolific, not just in clothing, but in home goods, daily products, and even people themselves. Are you cottagecore? No, that was more 2020. Are you clean girl? What about downtown girl? Even the way we define ourselves have become little trends that change rapidly. And this ever-changing ecosystem resulted in the throw absolutely everything at the wall advertising that Wicked used. And it worked. It wasn't the only method of marketing that the film used, though. Going back to TikTok, practically every marketing campaign nowadays utilizes the app. Not just movies, everything ranging from clothing stores to bakeries. The only people who don't market on TikTok nowadays are the Amish. TikTok is a really important place for marketing because it's relatively easy to reach a wide variety of people on the app. So much so that high TikTok follower counts are valued less than high follower counts on other social media sites like Instagram or YouTube. Not just colloquially, but by actual industries. When looking to sign new creatives, record labels and book publishers care significantly less about TikTok followers in comparison to other apps. But this doesn't matter for marketing. They just care about how many users they can reach in one post. TikTok is valuable for more than its high visibility, though. It is also valuable for its ability to produce user-generated content. Starting what I like to call the infinite pyramid is kind of the ultimate goal of any marketing campaign. Well, the ultimate goal of Wicked's marketing campaign was being obnoxious, but for any other marketing campaign. User-generated content is exactly what it sounds like. Content, in this case on TikTok, made by the users of that app, in this case TikTok. If you can get users to start making content about your product, be it through trends, dances, jokes, controversy, you then get free advertising. TikTok is the hub of this user-generated content due to how easy it is for users to make content, and then how easy it is for that content to reach more people, hence TikTok's high visibility. This then enters the infinite pyramid. If a marketing campaign can reach a small number of people who will make videos about it, then those videos can reach more people who will make videos about it, then those videos can reach more people who will make videos about it, and it goes on from there. Infinitely expanding pyramid of user-generated content, all marketing your product for free. There's also this unique dynamic that TikTok has created between film and its consumers. There are so many people who want to be content creators nowadays, and due to its high visibility, TikTok is one of the most accessible places to pursue this because of its short-form content and algorithm. This puts people in a position where they want to get the first mover advantage. They want to be the first to discover the next big trend, or at least one of the first. The earlier they adopt a trend, the more attention they receive for it. This puts users in a place where they actively want to partake in the infinite pyramid. Wicked is especially lucky when engaging in this content loop because it's a musical. It's a lot easier for music to be picked up by users on TikTok than just plain talking sound bites. But Wicked didn't get by on luck alone. They ran a much more visible ad campaign on TikTok, where you see the little paid advertisement or sponsored post, which included this video.
I think we found a place where we belong. I wanna be in this where I belong.
But if you allow me to put on my tinfoil hat for a moment, I have another idea. Now, this is all entirely alleged and is wholly speculation, But my personal conspiracy theory is that studios create fake user-generated content as well. It's possible that advertising groups make individual accounts that wouldn't register in viewers' minds as big corporations, making them more open to being influenced. Just little things to help trends take off. Videos of regular people dancing to songs or using sound bites in creative ways that could be mass replicated across the platform. But also, Wicked has so many good little short sound bites in it, so it's very possible that it was all just genuinely user-generated. Within its marketing strategy, the film was also very intentional with its opening dates, releasing in the US during the ever-popular Thanksgiving weekend. A lot of people know about the popularity of summer film releases. The time is ripe for students to be out of school and people to be more amicable to the idea of going out and spending some money to have fun, resulting in the famous summer blockbuster. But Thanksgiving is also a key date for similar reasons. This is done because all the kiddos are off from school and all the family is back together. What's better to do with your free time than engage in the American pastime of taking the family on a good old trip to the cinema? Many films will do this, especially Disney movies. You will almost always see a Disney film being released in the US on one of these days for this reason. Releasing during the Thanksgiving weekend is just another example of Wicked's intense attention to detail throughout every department. So we've discussed marketing strategies, the throw everything at the wall and TikTok mania, but what about the content of the ad campaign itself? David O'Connor, the president of Universal's franchise management and brand strategy, said, "Our goal was to make a cultural defining moment, which would not only drive box office, but connect with fans and consumers and go beyond the Broadway show's following." And make a cultural defining moment they did. But how does one make a cultural defining moment? That's right, they did a Barbenheimer, mirroring the cultural phenomenon of July 21st, 2023. And no, I don't mean the Wicked Gladiator 2 Barbenheimer thing some people tried to make happen. Wicked pulled a Barbenheimer on its own. In its marketing campaign, it mirrored all the core tenets of what made a Barbenheimer so successful. It feels like Wicked saw the cultural phenomenon of Barbenheimer and took notes to single-handedly replicate it. Allow me to break it down. 1. Color. One of the most important elements of Barbenheimer was the conflicting aesthetics. The tones of the two movies were very different, and there was an element of humor in just how stark the contrast was between them. Jokes went around about how to best dress for each film. Barbie was pink and optimistic. Oppenheimer was gray and serious. Wicked was able to mirror this with its two leading characters. Glinda is pink and optimistic. Elphaba is green and serious. Good job, marketing. Define Elphaba's character by her skin tone, which she has been discriminated against all her life for. It was an effective choice, though. Color is a powerful visual tool because if you can get people to associate those colors with a product, you can then manipulate those people into thinking of your product whenever they see those colors. This is why so many shades of colors are copyrighted by brands. They want to preserve that immediate mental association. Subsequently, almost every company tie-in with Wicked was centered on the visual cues of pink or green.
If last year was Barbiecore, this year is pink and green.
The Starbucks drinks, the Kit Kat bars, even the Hilton room. This also wasn't just a visual element of their marketing campaign. They actively pushed the question of pink or green. Are you pink or are you green?
Green, 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 stop.
The fact that this is a question is very important, and we will circle back to this after. 2. Memes. This one is a lot more circumstantial, but a lot of marketing is circumstantial. Wicked definitely capitalized on it. Both Wicked and Barbenheimer were able to generate a lot of humor online about the films prior to or early on in their releases. For Barbenheimer, there was the obvious irony of two drastically different films being released on the same day, which snowballed into a lot of memes and jokes. Wicked had its beautiful comedic debut in the form of
people are taking the lyrics of Defying Gravity and really holding space with that.
I didn't know that that was happening.
I've seen it, yeah.
I mean, this moment was just magnificent. It's absolutely perfect. There's so much going on here. The fact that no one knew it was happening, the finger, the spending time in a lot of queer circles, it absolutely took off and solidified Wicked as a true cultural moment. This also was a product of the marketing circuit, though. While this moment wasn't pre-planned, probably, it was part of a whole host of media marketing that the actors had to go on and were trained for. Wicked just got lucky that in the media circuit they struck gold. While Wicked may not have planned for this exact moment, they certainly took advantage of it.
Really powerful. I was surprised because I was like, I had no idea.
3. And finally, the piece de resistance of Barbenheimer 2.0, the illusion of choice. Remember that pink or green that I mentioned like 1 minute ago? Well, Barbenheimer presented audiences with more than just conflicting visual aesthetics. It gave audiences a sense of choice. Which film are you going to see on July 21st? Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Would you rather see Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer.
Barbie or Oppenheimer?
I'm going to see both tomorrow.
Ooh, we love that.
This led to audiences identifying with their decision, which led them to defending their decision more, which led them to engaging deeper with the source material. The best part is, because audiences get to make a choice, they end up feeling like this was fully their own decision, even though it's a constructed dichotomy. Though the initial question of which film you would see that day did soon shift to people planning to do a double feature of the two films, a choice still remained. Which order are you going to see the films in? Why is your way right?
You have to see Oppenheimer first and then cleanse that with Barbie.
No, it's called Barbenheimer, meaning you watch Barbie first and then Oppenheimer.
The other side to this illusion of choice, beyond just defending your choice and unconsciously then siding yourself with the film regardless of which choice you make, is that the marketing targets personality too. Are you pink in Barbie, or are you gritty like Oppenheimer? Are you pink and Galinda, or are you more down-to-earth and academic like Elphaba? When you get audiences to identify their personality with a character, they then tie a part of their own identity with the film, investing more deeply into it. Or at least, buying a ticket. I'm very interested in seeing how we will progress from here. Will there be more Barbenheimer Wicked-esque marketing campaigns for films? It reminds me of the Harry Potter effect. Harry Potter was released and, of course, took off to insane levels of success. There were a few key elements of the story that really helped it to take off. There was an orphan boy. Starting your child protagonist off as an orphan already frees you up greatly as a storyteller. There was a secret magical world he became a part of, and the magical world has categories. Categories that readers, especially little kids, the target audience, could read about and connect with their own personality or interests and put themselves into a little box in the world, therefore identifying with the story more and further engaging with it. For Harry Potter, this was the Hogwarts houses. Are you brave like a Gryffindor or loyal like a Hufflepuff? After Harry Potter's smashing success, there were a slew of stories aimed at a similar age demographic that a lot of these key points, particularly the last one. First, you had Percy Jackson, which obviously has a whole host of differences, but is often put on level with Harry Potter and reflects many similar traits, such as a child with unknown parentage who discovers they're actually important in a secret magical world that hides from human eye, fit with its own secret magical version of an institution many kids in that target demographic attend themselves. Summer camp for Percy Jackson, school for Harry Potter. Percy Jackson finds its Hogwarts houses in the 12 Greek god cabins. Are you intelligent like a child of Athena, or are you brash like a child of Ares? This started to show up in more series like Divergent with their factions, and even kind of in the Hunger Games. Once again, you see marketing targeting a sense of identity and decision. Who are you? Where do you fit into this world? Not only does it get consumers interested, but it subconsciously forces them to engage with your media and create a facet of their own identity around it. This cheat sheet trend began to spiral, though, and more people began to pick up on it until audiences became very sick of it and didn't want to see it anymore. As each iteration got farther and farther from the originator, they became worse and worse. Obviously, that's subjective, but, is it really? They got pretty bad. Ultimately, I'm curious if this Barbenheimer Wicked marketing campaign type will follow a similar trajectory, being used more and more until the general population realizes what is happening and it has to be pocketed for a little while. Oftentimes, a big contributor in marketing strategies working is the consumers being unaware of it. There is some unabashed examples, like obviously all the pink and green, but The more critical they become of it, the less willing they are to really engage with it wholeheartedly. Only time will tell. The success of Wicked is something that other musical adaptations can learn from. Stage productions have always had a bit of an uphill battle when adapting to the film medium. It's hard to bring something that is so constructed around the form it was created in, like a stage production, into a new one. The art of adaptation isn't just recording a stage production on a film set instead of a stage, it's an act of translating. People don't just go to the theater because they can't watch a recording of the show. If they did, there wouldn't be so many stage adaptations of musical movies. There's a different conversation occurring between a show and its audience in a stage production. There's a different exchange of energy, an intangible exuberance in live performances. Bringing that live element into a pre-recorded product is hard, but Wicked managed to capture it in a way that was refreshing to audiences. But successfully adapting the material into a new medium is only half the battle. You also have to sell it. Potentially a harder task in a world where the term theater kid doesn't always come with the most positive connotation. And sell it Wicked did. Future stage-to-film musical adaptations should take notes. So how? How did Wicked successfully adapt a movie musical? It's hard to boil the success of a film with a production as massive as Wicked to one catch-all answer. Like any film production, it was the result of a million little decisions that added up. There are a few bigger choices that can be pointed out: the casting, runtime, music, marketing. But at the end of the day, there was just a lot of care from the people making it. If you watch interviews with the cast and crew, it's obvious how much everybody cared about the film they were working on and respected the show. Ariana Grande auditioned for Glinda 5 times. The director, John M. Chu, first saw Wicked before the musical even made it to Broadway.
I saw Wicked before it was on Broadway, when it was at the Curran Theater in San Francisco.
The sound mixer, Simon Hayes, said that his entire career was preparation to work on Wicked. Ultimately, I think the true reason that the Wicked film succeeded was because it was an adaptation of a good source material made by people that cared deeply about it. It succeeded because the people working on it didn't just care about the film being successful, but cared about the film being good. Or maybe just because James Corden wasn't in the cast. The Wicked stage musical has a run. Mercury, I need this. Okay. You can. Maybe. Okay. Some common mistakes include the Wicked movie has a runtime of about 2 hours and 40 minutes. The first Wicked movie. Oh no, baby. The Wicked movie has a runtime of Don't make me laugh. They were popular. Right.